Hello and welcome to this quick little explainer of the Inventors Academy Level 1 program. Level 1 is for inventors and entrepreneurs who are getting a project started, have not received or raised any capital yet and haven't received income. Now, my name is Daniel O'Connor and I'll be walking you through the program, showing you how it works and why it will work for you if you're in the field that we're looking at. Okay, so let's just break into it then. Now, what we're trying to do here is a lot of people use the right tools the wrong way and the wrong tools the right way and end up not being able to achieve what it is they need to achieve. What I want to do is give you the right tools and teach you how to use them the right way. And that gets you to a point which is your first or next significant cash generating transaction. That's what we aim for in there. And we really target just one of four of these to get your project started. And that is funding, licensing, distribution, or a trade sale. And I'll explain what they are. So your outcomes change if you have a clear purpose, and that's what we want to deliver for you. Firstly, your project gets properly funded, so you never have to stop and start to go and look for more money to keep going. And you always have a positive cash flow position and a planned budget, so you know exactly what you're going to be doing within your budget. Next, you'll need weekly group coaching calls and one-on-one help. This helps you develop your program. As you do the learning, you're actually implementing it and you're getting guidance from professional coaches, as well as you get reach out calls directly with me if you need to. You will have planned your best exit option, and that is an exit option for you and for your investors. It's very important that everybody has a big payday at the end of this. Investors won't come into your project if they can't see a clear pathway out again. That's the way it is. And finally, your passive income begins. So what we're trying to do is build both the income and the asset value as you progress your project. And we're working on both of them, but the passive income is going to keep you going. And what we're trying to do with our significant cash generating transactions is to multiply those and keep them rolling along. So you get to a point which we call pre-scale, where we hand you off to a venture capital firm or a private equity firm. And at that point there, they could put 10 times the money in and get 100 times the outcome. And that's what you want to do. Now, I want to show you how the program can deliver for you the outcomes that you need to make your project successful. Firstly, we talk about online self-paced learning. We've got about 20 hours of video case studies and lessons and what to do, what not to do, and how to do it, as well as checklist templates and everything else, all online based into this program. And that's the first level of the program. After that, we then progress to the commercial modeling workshop. We put you through a 4-hour workshop. It could be on Zoom, could be one-to-one, could be one to your group, me with your group. And I start with 244 questions, and it blows out to about 400 data points on a mind map. That mind map has, at one glance, if you print it at A1 or A2, it becomes a mural on your wall. It's big enough, and it has everything, all of your clear pathways and assets, your risks, everything is all in front of you, and you can see your clear pathway. We usually get you to attack that once a month with a Sharpie and a highlighter, and as your program gets greater clarity, you start to see your pathway, and as you're actioning it, you'll be able to then follow it more closely. So once we've done the workshop outcomes is the mind map, but also an action plan. That action plan is your next 5 months of delivering your program. All the steps, but based on 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and what you have to do, who has accountability for what those actions are, what the resources are that are needed, everything you need in the Gantt chart. It's all set out for you. Next, you have the implementation. It's not going to happen if you don't implement it, and we help you roll that out. We roll up our sleeves and get in the trenches with you. We know that that's going to work. We know that you need the help, and with it, sometimes the difference can be know-how rather than experience. And we're just showing you what works, what doesn't work, and you can understand why as you're implementing it. And by the end of 6 months, of course, not only do you have a successful program or project, but you also have a lot of knowledge for your next one. And finally, nothing gets done unless you can test and measure it. That's key performance indicators. So what we do is we use a process called PSR, Project Status Review, and we firstly cluster our inventors together in groups of 6, and they're on regions, and we start them at the beginning of every month. So you only have a meeting online in groups of 6. and sometimes it's 7 or 8 when there's other people bring more than one person onto the call. But in most cases, we're just doing those group coaching calls. They're Wednesdays or Thursdays, depending on where you are in the world, morning, afternoon, evening. And you're talking to me, and I'm going through all your wins, your challenges, your plans for the following week, and how your implementation is going. But then you also get, if your project, for any reason, in between the weekly meetings, you're bogging down with something, you can do a 30-minute reach out call. You always have access to my calendar. You can book in and be talking directly with me in a 30-minute one-on-one within 24 hours if you needed to. So you always have that. And also we throw in there our project status review meetings, which are monthly, where we are going through your action plan and measuring exactly what's been done and what's been achieved, what hasn't been achieved. If you're not able to implement everything, can we allocate it to someone else? We're keeping you to account, holding you to your promise you make in the commercial modelling workshop. Okay, now when you implement this, things are going to happen for you. Firstly, you'll not continually have to stop everything and start everything as you run out of money, and it's just hand to mouth all the time, and you're diluting yourself all the way through as you do that. You'll be able to value your project when it starts earning income. As I mentioned before, the dual stream of increasing the value of the asset, but increasing the earnings as well. So therefore, both of them are building your project. And then you get help with your first license or distribution agreement that you do. And then from there, you can do the same thing yourself and continually do it for the full 6 months you're with us. And then if you make enough of those, you get to pre-scale. So then we can introduce you to private equity funds or venture capital who will put the big money in. So who am I to tell you all about this? Well, I've been doing this now for 40 years around the world. I take projects from ideation through to pre-scale. Pre-scale is where we hand you off to private equity funds and venture capital companies. I've mentored more than 3,000 inventors, 3,200 we've calculated in the past 40 years. And those people have been responsible for more than 3,700 projects. I would say they're probably more than 4,700, but we're talking about the people and the projects they were involved in. I wasn't directly involved in all of their projects. Some universities may have 15 or 20 projects. Some corporates have 6 to 10 projects. And those projects, of course, they're working on, but I may not be fully endorsed with them as well. I've completed nearly 800 projects to a licensing or a trade sale. In other words, to get them going and roll them out and get them traction. We've done that. I've had 4 projects with valuations greater than $100 million. One of those was back in 1987. That was the first one I did. I started in 1983 with my own project, but 1987 I had one for $100 million, and you can imagine what that's worth in today's money. I published a book you can see there, $1 Billion Napkin. If you join our group, members get a copy, so just you can ask for that. Now, here's a fun fact. I invented the cornerstone investor model for early stage capital, which is the way we raise capital. We can do it in under 4 pitches. We do it, the way we do it is radically different, but we're very successful at it. It will raise your success rate from about 50% through to about 95%, and we'll show you why. So if you're in the business of commercializing the intellectual property, you're probably very good at inventing. You may not be as good at commercialization. If you're not, there are 3 key problems that are going to hold you back. And I'm going to explain to you how they work and how we overcome them. Now, first, our objective is always to increase the amount of income you have. Income gives you freedom. As the money comes in, you pay the bills. Even if you can't do something, you can now afford to pay somebody outside to do it for you. So you can keep your project moving, and that's the most important thing. If your project stalls, everyone around you is going past you, therefore you're going backwards. So what are the 3 critical problems you're going to face? You're going to face low cash or no cash. You're going to face slow progress in what you're doing, and you're going to have an unclear exit. And believe me, if you don't have a clear exit for from your program for your investors, people won't get in if they can't get out. It's as simple as that. So let's look at cash flow and what we do. I use the cornerstone investor model. You can Google it. It's quite well renowned now. It's specifically for inventors and new startups that don't have cash flow. And it works rather than on return on investment, it calculates based on risk. And I'll show you, our program teaches you all about that and then helps you set it up to pitch. Now, what you get out of that is three things. You get project funding, which is what you need. You also get industry experience you're bringing in, because the person that we look for, the entity we attract, is from the industry or the market, and they already have a sound industry experience, but they also may have channels to distribute your product, well-established channels, in which case they're reducing their risk that way. And they also will be able to contribute enough money so there'll be a bursary or some sort of salary for you to keep your project moving and to keep you focused on your project. The last thing you want is to not be able to get any traction because you have to go and do other work. So, excuse me. Now, if we pivot to slow progress, how do we speed it up? Well, we focus you on one core objective. The problem has always been that you've got 10 things to do and you've got 20 others to do immediately afterwards. We want you to focus on one. We get one over the line and that generates cash, then you have the money to solve other problems. And those 4 cash generating transactions that we're looking for are funding, distribution, licensing, or a trade sale. If I get all of those lined up for you, or one of those lined up for you, it'll feed the others, or whatever you need. Now, if we pivot down to unclear exit, I've mentioned to you a clear exit is absolutely essential for the investors or any other collaborators you have in your project. But it's also important for you, because if you don't do this, you won't have a payday. You'll just have another job. You just swap jobs. So what we want to do is unlock the true value of the intellectual property and then have other people accept that value, either by buying into it or where you could trade sell it to someone, or they participate by paying you a significant amount for a prorated share of that. The way we do that is through cash sale. We also use share swap, which is a script for script rollover, where we if we're dealing with a public company, we want them to buy the project, we might sell half of it to them for a bunch of shares, equivalent of whatever the price is. And then you can, if you wanted to, ring your broker and dispose of those shares, so you've liquidated them and you've got cash. And finally, you might do vendor financing. Doesn't sound as attractive, but believe me, it can. We can get up to 50% more for your project if we do vendor financing. And that basically means if you've got a project that you're going to sell for $100, let's say, and I get somebody who puts in $75 deposit, 50%, they own 50% for 2 years, and they use that 2 years to pay off the other 50% from the cash flow that they get, which is only half the profits from the company, because the other half is yours. Their incentive is to grow the company. They already have the same amount locked in, so they want to grow the company as quickly as they can. If for any reason they miss 2 payments in a row, we usually have a clause that says, sorry, it now reverts back, the IP reverts back to the original owner, and they've lost their 50%. But otherwise, you end up getting 150% for your company on the valuation. Now, what we're looking for is to give you one of those 4 objectives. And the 5th one, of course, is the scaling. So we hand you off to a private equity fund or a venture capitalist. But in the meantime, those 4 are funding, distribution, licensing, and a trade sale. So you're looking at one of those to generate you enough cash to then either repeat that or do another one. How do we do these? Well, firstly, with funding, we profile someone from within the industry or the market so we can get a better yes. We also prepare leverages. So for instance, if they've got a distribution channel already set up and they've already got 50,000 customers out there that could use your product, then immediately we rebrand it into their name, white label it and push it in, and they get an opportunity to sell to their customers ahead of the rest of the market. And as a result of that, they're able to immediately get enough cash flow to reduce their risk to nothing, but also giving you a good return as well. So we also prepare the due diligence files before we do our pitch. And the reason why we do that is because we know that the due diligence can take 1 to 6 months. But if you're prepared and you slide the due diligence across the table at the moment you get yes, you can get it all done in 7 days. Usually it takes about 2 weeks. So by hastening that, you're less likely to get someone who's going to change their mind. Distribution and licensing have a lot of common steps, but We have a step-by-step program which you can lift straight out of the 6 steps program that we have, the online learning, and you implement that, like for instance, how to book a trade show. You can just pull it straight off the shelf and deliver it. It's a 7-week program, 6 weeks before, 3 days at the show, and 1 week afterwards. So you have the whole thing all lined out and you just implement it. Even the scripts of what you say to all the different parties. So we show you how to qualify the prospects, get there, and all the scripts and sell sheets and the 2 15-second videos that we want you to do on your project. One talking about what you have, and the other talks about what it does for the clients of the person you're meeting. Everything is customized, by the way. It's not a standard thing like you have for a prospectus, which goes out to everybody. No, we do it quite specific. Licensing is pretty much the same thing, except the difference is in distribution, you make the product. In licensing, they make the product. And also the income is a lot more deferred because it takes about a year, 9 months to a year before you start getting income from the licensing agreement. If anyone tells you they can get it for you in 4 to 6 weeks, they don't know what they're talking about. Trade sale, sometimes a project ends up not being a good fit for your company, even though you developed it. You know it has value, you want to get rid of it. What do? You can either license it or you can trade sale it. But you decide, I want to get rid of it. I don't want to put any more money in. I don't want to put any effort in. But I realize it's worth something. We'll get a valuation for it. We'll find you a buyer. We'll size the deal so you know what you get. Sometimes it's better to take a deal where you still are active in the project, and you're getting a reward 6 months, 12 months or 18 months after you've done the deal, on the promise that you expect this to earn, let's say $100, and they're saying, no, it'll only earn $50. And you say, well, if it earns $100, will you give me a bonus of an extra $10 or $15? Yes, they will. Bang, it's all done. So we help you negotiate all of that. And we also have non-cash options for script rollover, which I explained before, and that's quite critical in a trade sale. So the key here is we chase only one of these options as your core mission. And once you achieve one, you can step straight in and do another one. But you must only charge after one at a time, no more. So I want to show you how that works for other people. This is Aaron. He has a great product there. That's a 30-second hole fix for gyprock walls. Now, when he had it, he got it developed. He knew he got a good product, but he had no way of distributing it. We put him into, we actually got him into a trade show in the US, and he got accepted. He got a gold ticket from one of the big distributors, or one of the big retail chains, a company called Lowe's in the US, and that gold ticket basically got him into their distribution. We had to get him a distributor to carry it in, and I think it ended up at 20,900 stores across North America and Europe in those 4 companies. So once it was all done, he was able to also do set up a franchise arrangement for this as well. So he was able to do in another country, not in Australia where he's based, but that franchise is going to be able to deliver him. People who drive to a door spend they charge $165 to fix the first hole and $65 for every other hole, and each of those units cost them about $14. So they retail for $19.95 in the US, about $30 in Australia. This is Simon. Simon is one of our level 2 operators. He's been in my program. He first came into my program in 1997. He's been quite active since. He and I did a number of programs together, but this particular one that he did, he had a client with a scientific innovation. She couldn't get it working because she did a pitch based on return on investment. It was from a university. She worked for a university, and nobody would invest in it. Some people said yes and then changed their mind. And what we did is we realigned her pitch to be not return on investment, but rather focusing on risk and dissipation of risk. We got her, the first pitch we did, we got, and she's off and running. So with her collaborator or partner. And those people had next to no risk because they used the technology directly in their business to get started. This is Neville. Neville was a nuclear physicist in his past life, and he had a carbon capture device which he worked on. Great machine, had a proof of concept, did not have any way of path to market. We had to build him a path to market to get that going. So that was all done, and Neville then had a step-by-step program for 6 months to deliver it. Takes a bit longer with this sort of product because it's huge people involved in it, but absolutely amazing product. So how will this all change your life if you get involved and get your project into this program? You're going to have less stress and uncertainty. You have a plan to follow step by step, follow the bouncing ball. You don't have to worry about what do I do next, what takes priority. Everything is all worked out for you. You can start to plan your life outside of your project, because your project hours can be shrunk down to a nominal number of hours per day or per week, and you can have a weekend and a life outside of what work you do now and the innovation you're doing. So that frees you up, and you can start making a whole lot more progress in your life rather than just in the program. And finally, you can also know the who, the what, and the why that's associated with your path to market. So what do I do next goes out the window. You know the right people to connect to, the right people to sell to, the right people to support, and the right people to ask for help. So you can afford to engage skilled professionals because you have money in the bank now. So if your project starts to stall because you're not sure what to do, and you know you have to do it, but you don't know how to do it, or you don't want to do it, you can actually engage someone professional to do it. So what the Academy will deliver for you as part of the Level 1 program gives you a video and live training. Video training is mentioned over 20 hours, and the live training is weekly with our group coaching calls. You have access to the masterclass library of all the different lessons, all the different case studies, all the different templates, checklists, downloads, exercises, guides, everything you need to go in and implement something if you needed to. I've got a problem. I want to find a distributor in the US for this particular type of industry. This will show you how to qualify the program, the prospects, how to find the prospects, how to pitch to them, everything. We also have a Facebook and LinkedIn community groups alongside those. On Facebook, we've got our Inventors Masterclass, and you can come into that as a member. It's a closed group. You can freely talk to others because you only deal with 5 other inventors in our cohort of 6. And the reason for that is you actually will generate quite a good community group there. But you can talk to the whole group by simply going into the website and online, and you might find somebody who's finished their project and looking for something to invest in, and it could be you are the perfect person for them. So you never know. We have that community, and our LinkedIn community is a little bit different. We've got one group which has 4,000 members, which is for inventors, pretty much inventors, and there are a few patent attorneys, but the other group is 72,000, and they are entrepreneurs, and both of them are worldwide. So you can get contacts for people in other countries if you needed to. We have a weekly group social or support calls, so the group coaching calls. So you'll need these they're fixed every week, and your cohort of 6 comes in, and you share with each other what your wins are, your challenges, what you're planning for the following week, how you're going to implement it, and what you're struggling with right now. So we put all of that in there, and then also you get to reach out to me if you need to, and that could be one-on-one or one to your group, where we solve a particular problem that may not be something you want to bring up right now in the group. You have access to my calendar, so you can actually dive in and make a booking. That's pretty easy to do. Those 30-minute reach-out calls are included in this. It's a fair use policy. We don't want you doing it daily, but certainly some aspects of your business you're not sure of. It could be daily for 3 or 4 days, and then you're off and running. Finally, project status review. As I mentioned before, we check you with your action plan plus your mind map. We're testing it every month with one-on-one or one to your group, where we're doing project status review. We're actually reviewing your project, making sure you're making progress. And if you're not, why not? Who's not pulling their weight? We check everything. So we keep you and your project accountable to us and to the world, because your family or your shareholders don't have as much say in this as they should. But we're going to act on their behalf and keep you fully focused on what you need to do. So we want you to succeed. We want you to grow this, but there are things out there, forces out there that will try and stop you. I want to give you the top 5 things that will slow inventors down. So these are the 5 traps that stop inventors from achieving their planned outcomes as they go. 1 is overwhelm. You're in the area, you might be the best inventor in the world, but if you can't commercialize, inventors don't necessarily know how to commercialize. And so you can get overwhelmed really quickly. If that happens, you start to freeze, procrastinate, look for other things. When the going gets tough, you go and pull another idea out of your workshop and start on something else. And we can't afford you to do that, particularly if you've got people investing in your project. You have to be able to focus on your project, focus on that project because it's been paid for, and solve the problem. Now, it's easier to solve it if you've got the money to pay someone else to do it, and sometimes that will be quicker than you learning how to do it. But overwhelm has to be avoided and has to be addressed. So we're always keeping an eye out for that. Next, not having a plan. What do I do? What do I do next? It's always a problem. We sequence everything for the first 6 months. We show you how you're going to get to what you're going to do, because it's all now customized to your one significant cash generating transaction you elected to select in the workshop. You're going to get discouraged as you go. That's why the community is so important. You'll find people keep you going. The 5 other members of your cohort will share with you their ups and downs. You'll share with them your ups and downs, and they will help you when you're down, and you'll help them when they're down. That's the way it is. I've had some members of cohorts investing in other members' projects once they've got these trade sales early or whatever it is. So that can happen, and can happen quite often. You do end up with lifelong friends out of that. You're finding you're always moving into unknown territory, because that's the whole idea. You might be the best in the world at inventing, but you may not have any experience in commercial pathways, path to market, how you do market validation, proof of concept, transition audits, all the things you need to do to make your project successful. We show you all of that. We show you how it works, and we help you with it. We're in the trenches with you. And finally, not having the tools. It is quite possible that you don't know how to do a pitch. And imagine if you can pull a pitch deck off the closed user group, the lesson plan. You've got the entire pitch deck. All you do is populate it for yours, throw in the pictures that are relevant to you, and then run it past us, and we'll actually let you do it. We've had one or several. I had one today actually, which did the pitch entirely on our weekly group coaching. Or 5 other people were able to critique it, so it was good. It was a good lesson. Okay, all of this doesn't mean anything if we can't guarantee it. In our program, we guarantee that you'll achieve this one cash generating transaction that we've agreed on with you in your half-day commercialization or your commercial modeling workshop. But you must do the work, and you must stay the course. So we're going to hold you to that, make sure your attendance is where it needs to be, and we're going to hold your feet to the fire to make sure it all happens. But first, I have some questions, because this is not for everybody. I want to make sure that it is something that you can implement if you become part of it. Because if you have the idea of coming into the program and making someone else do it, it's not going to happen. And I don't want you in there, because it's bad for everyone else. So the first question I have for you, do you have the discipline to work on just one objective at a time so that that outcome can pay for your expansion? If you can say yes to that, then I'm interested in giving you the second question. Can you give up the thought of pitching your project to everyone you meet who you think can afford it? I'm only going to pitch to 4 people maximum to get your investment locked in, and I don't want to ruin it for everybody else. I don't want you seeing somebody with a nice watch or climbing out of a nice car and saying, hey, I'd like to talk to you about an investment, because that is not going to happen. We'll explain to you why, but that's ultimately doesn't. But if you could say yes to this, I'll give you another question. Are you ready to follow the plan and take on advice from people who've been where you're going and know what's going to happen if you do it right? If that's the case, if you can answer yes to that question, you're ready to go. What I'd like to do is point out to you that not every project and not every inventor is suitable, but the right way I do this is I interview everybody personally before they're accepted into the program. So if you want to be part of this, you can jump onto our program and talk to me beforehand, and I'll determine whether or not we can put you in. Now, each month we start regional cohorts of 6 inventors per group. You might be Australian, American, British, European, wherever you are. We'll put you with 5 others, and the weekly group calls are paired And our one-on-one reach out calls are there when you need them. And you have your monthly project stage review meetings, which will happen every month throughout the program to make sure you're ready to transition. So if you think this is for you, I'd encourage you to now book a meeting with me, daniel30mins.com. If you're ready to start today, I can book a chat. You can book a chat with me and I can qualify you and I can walk you through the process to get you started. If you're ready and you can say yes to those 3 questions, then we're good to go. I'd like to hear from you. daniel30minutes.com. I look forward to speaking to you.